awesome. And this is Jen Hart's Guide to Life. I might look kind of funny. It's Sunday where I am. And I am trying to reduce a lymph node in my little chinny chin chin. About a week ago, I had a dental cleaning, and it might have been from that, or maybe my body is just a little run down. I'm not quite sure, but I'm just trying to take care of my body. I feel fine. It's just a little sore and a little swollen. And I'm like, if I can help it reduce, or if it's blocked or something, I can do something about that. So this comes to the topic of how to literally shift the way you perceive life, your mind, how you perceive the world, really, so you can basically manifest more of what you want. And part of that is literally, before going to worst case scenarios, like, let's say, take this for example, an old version of me, a version of me that doesn't really exist anymore. Occasionally, that version of me likes to pop out occasionally for some, just because my brain has interesting things. It might go to like the deepest, darkest, like taboo, funny, dark sense of humor. But I don't actually like think this way typically. It's like I'm going to die of cancer or any of like that, because that's what we tend to do. We tend to go worst case. We think of the worst thing that could be possibly happening at any moment in time. And there's a scientific reason for that. Our brains, for thousands and thousands of years, are trying to protect ourselves. So it's a natural inclination, a job it likes to do, which is to focus on the thing that is the most terrifying thing for said brain. And it, for some person, it might be like a friend of mine. She got an eye issue and she thought she was going blind, and she wasn't going blind, but her worst fears came out in that scenario, and it would grate at her, even though it was illogical. Um, unless the worst case scenario, which would be an eye infection or like a deep, deep wound that was not healable or blah blah blah. Like there are scenarios where something like that could happen. There is one timeline where this is cancer, and there's another timeline where it's just my body taking all the cells that are not good and like collecting them in a lymph node and ready to transport when the body feels it's ready to move through the system and out the disposal unit, as we all know. There are timelines for everything, as I believe it's Neville Goddard, but it's like the New Thought movement in general is basically like all existence already exists. So every timeline exists, every possibility exists. But we tend to think that the worst case is the thing that is going to pop up instead of the best case scenario, or looking for positive things in general, like as if we're a horrible Pollyanna if we go that route first, when it's actually it's a way where you can, at least in physics, is that how you perceive something shifts the way it turns out. It shifts the way it is presenting. All reality is presenting exactly both sides, all spectrum of existence. So the deepest, darkest, and the most bright, loving. We have conscious ability to refocus, train our brains, build new neural pathways to creating the life we want. And that might mean letting go of an old person that you might be, where you're always thinking like everything is shit and everything is going wrong and blah blah blah. And that might be like fundamentally you see this on the external world, but there's not all worlds, it's not all truth. All of them are possible, and how you see something is how it will shift in your reality. And this is coming from somebody who went super dark many years ago and came back from that by building little pathways to self-belief, seeing the good in the world again, seeing the good in every day, even if the whole rest of the day was shit. As long as I found one thing that was going well, that it was going good, even if it was external to me. Like the sun, I never have to worry that the sun is going extinct, at least not in my lifetime. And I'm only worried about this lifetime. I do not have the energy to worry about 10,000 years in the future, maybe a couple hundred. So I, care about what I do in the moment, like recycling and whatever magical things that I can think of to help support me and myself, my friends, my planet, blah, blah, blah. But I'm okay if I don't think those things either. It's just something, but I do not have the energy to think about when the sun will die. Yeah, it's not even fathomable. It's not even, but it's always working on our, giving us energy, giving us UV rays to cleanse and clarify and feed the plants and for photosynthesis. That I can count on. I can count on that for 100 years. So can you. So if that's the one thing you can count on, that today it's raining, the plants are getting fed nutritious water. Hallelujah. That's one good thing today. I could go into the spin of, oh, it sucks to drive in this, blah, 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 but it wasn't horrible. It's a beautiful day. It's slightly warm, slightly cool. It's that weird feeling vibe, but it's like kind of nice. So how do you do this in your day-to-day life? If you're not used to this, this is like, especially if you're in a deep, dark depression, it's not easy. If you're in deep, dark anxiety point, it's not easy initially because you're not used to it. It's kind of like the first time you tied your shoes. It was hard. Now you would never think it was hard. You just wouldn't because you do it so naturally. This will become natural once you program yourself, once you rewire, once you continuously see what good is happening in my life instead of what shit is happening. What good in my relationship with somebody, like say a friend or even a stranger, like what's good here before I think about all the things that are shit. Because we can all go into that situation where we may feel like a person is doing us wrong or not thinking of us, they're being selfish, blah, blah, blah. But really, that's just one perception of all the perceptions that are available. Obviously, if somebody's physically harming you, move away from them. If somebody's verbally attacking you, I would say take a break from them. If it's a reoccurring thing, move away from them. Get yourself safe. Take care of yourself always, first and foremost. On the other days of the year, when we perceive things that aren't happening, that we think that the worst case scenario is going on, where we think that the guy that doesn't text us back hates us when they're just busy or doing other things, or doesn't want to seem too eager. There's like every scenario possible in these scenarios. But why does your brain go there? How about we don't worry about the why, because we know it's our little brain trying to take care of us. Thank you, brain. Thank you, brain. But it's not, I'm not going to take that advice today. I'm going to see right now, I'm safe. I'm okay. Tell yourself all the things that are good right now. Like, I'm healthy. I have my Bolthouse Farms immunity boosting juice. Yay. I'm giving myself time to rest before I go out into the world again. I mean, life is good even when things aren't perfect, and they aren't going to be perfect until you perceive them to be. And that's the whole fun about all of this perception stuff, is like when you shift the way you perceive things, especially initially, you're allowed to have negative thoughts. But why ruminate on them? Why give them so much airtime? Like I used to say to a client and now friend a long time ago, it's like, why are you letting that person rent space for free? They're not paying you rent, and you don't even like the thought that you're feeling. It's not like you're saying, oh my God, that person loves me, that person like adores me, that person will do anything for me. No, your brain is ruminating on, that person is an asshole, that person does this person treated me this way. I don't know if this is registering, because I know there are different times and seasons in life where sometimes the person that I'm talking to, or even myself, was not ready to hear that. Like I talked about in a previous video, is like when you commiserate with misery, you get more things to miserable about. And this is the opposite. When you start seeing what is working in your life, it doesn't have to be big. It'd be like, my bed is working, my toilet works, my legs work to get me to the toilet. My legs work to get me to the grocery store today to buy my juice, to buy like my milk and all the a few things that I needed. Um, it wasn't a big grocery shop, but my legs, my car, hallelujah. Like those things are working. Why would I choose? Because it is a choice, even though there are certain conditions where it is harder to stop your brain from going into the dark side. And considering it's Star Wars weekend, it might be prevalent. Like, but you still have the choice of like, okay, how much time am I going to spend on this topic and before I need to distract myself, or think the opposite. Think things are always working out for me. Things that I desire come easily and effortlessly to me. My body knows how to heal itself. I'm just supporting it as best as I know and am guided to. My body is in perfect working order. Instead of saying, my body's falling apart, blah, 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 I'm getting old, blah, 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 oh, blah, blah, blah. I mean, you can do that. And there's a sense, the reason why I think this type of thinking has gone almost exaggerated, especially with social media, is that it makes people feel connected. Why can't we connect on the good things? Not just the bad things that have happened in life. There's something called trauma bonding. How about we do positive bonding, or like joyful bonding, like being celebratory bonding? Can we just celebrate? Like, life is so blessed. If you're in a Western country, 99% of the time, you have so many opportunities and resources. If you were in a country that, say, is not doing very well, or even down the block was not doing well, you still are very blessed. And it doesn't have to be a religious blessing. It just means that you're not in lack. And this idea that the mind plays the trick on us, that if we focus on the lack, then we'll prevent it from happening, when really we're exaggerating it, and we're making it even harder to see the good that is always available 24/7, 7 days a week, 365. And it's so abundant. It's literally, if you look at everything in nature, that is proof, beyond proof, of how much good is in the world. Just by looking at the trees and the animals, and how all the little birdies and all the little squirrel and bunnies and foxes and hawks and stuff like that, it's all working relatively without our involvement. Before we were here, they were working just perfectly fine. I'm sure we've had a little bit of a cog in the wheel where we might be harming the environment to a degree. But in general, birds still know how to find food. Squirrel knows still how to find food. Foxes still know how to find its prey and make babies. And like this, it's still working. And that's good. I mean, if you can't see that good as being good, and then obviously my brain still has that tendency, of course, to go down the dark road. There's a path that's saying we're destroying ourselves. Is that going to be helpful for me to actually have the energy to do anything about that, if it's right in front of me and it's my job to do? Hell no! It's never going to give me energy to do what is being called. So I can see a problem. It doesn't mean ignore problems. Like, it just means like, okay, well, how do I solve the problem? Well, first I have to see it in a new scenario. like, I think it was Einstein that said it, is like, you cannot fix a problem in the same energy that created it, or a frequency, or whatever the thought process is, basically. It's the same idea. It's because if you're on that same line, you're just creating that same problem. This is why changing your mind, changing the way you perceive things, whether it's a relationship, whether it's your money, whether it's your job, whether it's anything, whether it's your physical health, if you don't change that perception, you're just going to create the same stuff over and over and over again, like Groundhog Day. And not even the fun kind with Bill Murray, you know what I mean? Like, and even in that movie, he was not very happy until he realized, oh wait, I can change things. And maybe I'll get out of this hell. And that's what I want for you. I want you to get out of your mental prison, that it doesn't matter who created it, whether it's your family of origin, whether it's society as a whole. You have the power, you have the ability, you have choice. And initially, it may be challenging because it's like a new thing. It's like a muscle that you haven't used in a really long time. As a child, you may have used it so much, and then somebody told you to be realistic, to be practical, to be jaded, almost, like, to get into that mindset. And I'm sure there's a purpose for those particular things for particular people, but I'm not sure if they're incredibly happy or incredibly manifesting everything they want in life. Maybe they are. I don't think that there is, like, you have to be positive in order to create in life. That's not, I mean, we see miserable people create amazing things in life. That's not a negation. But don't you want it to be joyful, or, like, at least feel better along the process of creating the money, the relationships, the body, the abundance of all your life? And, like, don't you want that to be a positive experience instead of, like, misery and almost like quarreling or beating, like, the old, I guess it's a Protestant idea of, like, work till you die. Like, I mean, that's one way to manifest. It's not the only way. It's definitely not the only way. And I much prefer manifesting in a way where I'm not going in a dark path where my brain tells me things that are absolutely not good for me, which is the really dark stuff that nobody, number one, self-criticism is absolutely a lie, because none of those things are true when we self-criticize ourselves. And part of it is because we haven't trained our brain to see the good in ourselves, for all the reasons I said before, and lack of practice, and maybe lack of modeling. But your model is basically all the people that have good self-esteem, or just a practice of, I am smart, I am funny, I am interesting, I am silly, I don't care what people think of me because I'm wearing this thing on the internet. Like, because it is what it is. People who don't like it, they just create better things for moi, because they'll boost my engagement. And the people that don't see this or don't care, and they get the message behind whatever is going on with me, that's the point. That's the higher reasoning for my existence. Then hallelujah, you know? So how do you start your day, or this hour, or this moment? It doesn't have to be like a big project. It literally is. Just become aware of when you're saying something not so favorable. And then, or start your day off of, like, almost like a gratitude list, but it's more about what's working in my life right now. Well, the fact I got a certain number of hours of sleep, the fact I got to sleep through the night, the fact that I have a cozy bed, that I got to sleep with a kitty, that that I have lights. I mean, legitimately, these aren't things to necessarily take for granted. Like, legitimately, like, the more we see good in the world, the more good will be outpictured in our reality, and then that will be a domino effect for the rest of the world. And this is science. It's not hokum. It doesn't mean that everything in the world will be perfect, but it will get better. Or at least in your perception, it will be better. And then it will create more opportunities and space because you'll have more emotional, physical energy to do good in the world yourself in action, deed, and thought when you're not ruminating about your own shit, your own negative thoughts, your own negative concepts about the world and how it is shit. Like, rarely do people get things done if they're always thinking about a problem because you're not actually looking for the solution. You're just ruminating on a problem. And ruminating on a problem, unless you're doing math, I guess, and that's a math problem, but like if you're not actually thinking of all the sides of the problem being able to be solved, instead of just all the sides of the problem creating more of a problem. Do you see the problem here? Oy vey. All right. Well, I don't know what's going on with my orientation. This orientation is locked. Rotated device back. Oh, there we go. Anyway, I hope you loved my TED Talk today. It is all about starting to become personally aware of the thoughts you think so you can shift them if they are not being productive and conducive to creating a life you want. I love you. I hope you have a fabulous day wherever you are in the world. I know you are awesome. And I hope you know this too. And if you have to hear it from my mouth millions of times in order to believe it, hallelujah. Keep listening, keep watching. I hope you have a fabulous day. Peace.